Welcome to the Baller Boys podcast. They're all about sports, and more sports. And now, the Baller Boys, Mark and Shemaya.
Hello, and welcome back to the Baller Boys podcast. You are back for round 2. And today we're going to talk about the hype machine that is the 2022 NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. So without further ado, it's your boy Mark, but I cannot do this alone. I am joined by the SOTB, the music man with the plan, Shemaya.
Yep.
You heard the man. Yup is right. We're going to address the most hype things since sliced bread, and we are going to stick around the field of the NBA because that is the hottest thing right now. Thank you all for joining us once again. We are both the Baller Boys. We talk about sports, and more sports, and we are hovering around the NBA and the much hyped up matchup that is the Celtics and the Warriors. Today, we're going to just talk about, I don't know, things that interest us about the series. Maybe we can make a prediction tonight. I don't know, but which you'll probably be able to hear that by the end of the episode. So stick around, stay tuned when we make our predictions. But we got to talk about certain players. We're going to talk about certain things that kind of intrigue us about this series and just our general thoughts on it. So Shemaya, I'm going to open the floor to you, man. What is the first thing that comes to mind about this series?
Oh, Warriors are winning.
They're going
winning.
in hot.
They're winning because Steph Curry. You had Jordan Poole, Draymond Green, Splash Brother, Clay. They're not going to play no games, man. They're going to show Boston that you're dealing with the Warriors, okay? You're not dealing with some team that just kind of got there, okay? You're dealing with a team that is going to be ready for you. Now, that being said, there are some concerns with the Boston Celtics that I think can cause some issues with the Warriors. But I will say this, as long as Steph is scoring, as long as Klay Thompson is scoring, and as long as Poole is aggressive, Boston will not be able to pull this off. I can see it going to 7 games if the Warriors struggle with Boston, because what scares me is Boston's defense. And I think up till now, the Warriors hasn't had that much of the heavy threat. But Boston, their defense, I think can raise some eyebrows. But it'll be up to the Warriors to be able to adapt to those issues that I think no other team has so far given them on their offense.
Yeah, I completely agree with you as far as the defense of Boston. They are the real deal. And it's interesting because the Golden State Warriors have the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the playoffs. Boston has the number 2 offense and the number 2 defense in the whole playoff picture that up to this point. So we're talking the real deal here, man. This is going to be a good finals. I can see it going 7 games. I think it will go 7 games. But, and like you mentioned, you brought up a good point. The Warriors have not seen a defensive unit like this in the playoffs. And I think they are going to disrupt Curry. Curry is still going to have good games as far as his point totals, I think, is 20 points, I think, is where the Boston Celtics need to keep Curry. 20 points on bad field goal shooting. That's how they need to disrupt him. They can't let him get 30 points. They got to do a good job on Clay, which I think they can. They're going to hound Curry with Marcus Smart. They're going to get Tatum on Wiggins probably. They got Brown who can play good defense too. Just a very good defensive unit. And I think they're going to give the Warriors problems. And we all saw how exhausted Looney looks on just 30 minutes of play. When they have to go small, I think Boston will be able to capitalize on that because they got size with Rob Williams, Al Horford. I think Horford is going to be a wild card in this series. The Celtics really should take advantage of the size that they have on the Warriors, because if the Warriors start struggling shooting wise, because Poole's very good, he's confident, but he can be a little bit streaky, and so can Clay. And if Boston can suffocate Poole and Clay with stingy defense or slow them down, and then slow down Curry to like a 23-point game outing on like poor shooting, Boston can win that type of game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Al Horford, and I think he's a scary dude. If this guy is mentally present in the game, yeah, he's going to cause some disruption in the flow. And just look at the previous series. He was the player that was aggressive. He was, getting some blocks. He was doing his thing, on both sides. And you have, like you mentioned, Jaylen Brown. He's another good person on defense. But the Warriors, they had to be very careful. I think this is their advantage on the Warriors side. If Steph Curry, right, can skate his way through the first two quarters and setting up plays for Clay and Poole, and heck, even Draymond to get some, few points. And then he just explodes in third and fourth quarter. That's going to be the ultimate nightmare for the Boston Celtics. And the other thing that'll be to the advantage for the Warriors is if Draymond can control himself and not get in foul trouble. If he can do that, then this will be a very high confident team in this series. And speaking of the Warriors, because without those two things, if they can't stretch the lifeline of Steph Curry, health-wise and energy-wise, it's gonna be tough, man. I think Boston will literally manhandle the Warriors if they can find a way to completely shut down Steph Curry.
See, that's what I'm worried about too, because here's the other thing that's concerning too, because Steph, I don't know if they're actually going to completely shut him down, but this season he's had games where he scored like 23 points, but you look at his percentages and they're bad. We're talking like shooting 25% from three, his bread and butter. So if the Celtics can even just keep him at like a 23-point game or a 20-point game on really bad shooting, they can live with that and beat this team, especially if Curry ends up being like their leading scorer and then Clay is off and Poole just can't get something going, or even if it's going to take more than one of those splash triplets, having a good game for the Warriors to win, because Draymond's going to get you 6 points, 8 points. Looney's going to get you 10 points. I'm trying to figure out where the rest of these points are going to come from the Warriors, because they don't have too much size. Wiggins can have a nice game too, but again, Boston's defense is ferocious and nothing's going to come easy. So the Warriors, for me, the Warriors must, like you mentioned before, Curry's got to come out guns blazing. They have to start fire. Like they have to start shooting very good from the field to open this series, to get that confidence, to boost their motivation and their momentum. Because, if they get a stroke going from three, they're going to start feeling really good. But that's going to be the key. They have to open these games shooting really well. And they are the best third quarter NBA, team. But at the same time, you can't just rely on the third quarter. You got to be able to score some points on a decently consistent basis. And I'm just worried that Boston's defense is going to suffocate them at the 3-point line, because they don't got size on the paint. It's just Looney. Draymond's physical, but you're going to have to deal with Rob Williams, with Al Horford, and Grant Williams, we talked about in our last show a little bit. He's a very good defender and he could shoot the three. He just had a 30-point game, in one of the recent series for the Celtics. So the Boston's got guys who could just come out there and they're shooting with confidence that aren't Brown, that aren't Tatum. You know, guys like Horford could have a 20-point game out of nowhere. And I'm kind of concerned outside of the splash triplets, who else on that Warriors team can get you 20 points out of nowhere?
I mean, out of nowhere, nobody. But as far as like strategically and being patient, hopefully that they don't have, you know, shots that just don't like the nets, you know what I'm saying? But it likes the rim and making brick houses. Is, you know, you're going to be looking for someone, Jordan Poole. He just has to be that X factor for the Warriors. Because if he takes up the slack, if Steph is, you know, having a slow game, that's what I mean. Steph can light it up during fourth quarter as long as someone like Jordan is stepping up to the plate in the first half, because that will give them confidence to be patient for Curry to get warmed up. It won't take Curry too long. After he gets a couple shots in, he's going to be numb. He will shoot with his eyes closed and he will just win the game, you know. But on the Boston side, excuse me, if they're, I almost got choked up, but if they
it's the NBA Finals, baby.
So,
what was that?
it's my allergies, y'all. I'm fighting it. Man. I was holding my cough for 2 shows and now it's coming out. But yeah, on the Boston side, the Warriors have to be very careful with 2 players. All right, if they want a chance, they have to be very careful how many points these 2 players score in the first half, and that is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Because Marcus Smart, he's prone to get more than 10 points in the game, but the 2 main players on the Boston team for offense, the Warriors, they have to shut down Jaylen Brown and they have to shut down Jason Tatum, because with those 2 J's, Jaylen and Jason, you have a thunderstorm if you're not careful. And that will really buy time for the Warriors to catch up if they're down, is if they can have one or both of those players struggle in scoring, because that gives them enough time to keep the game close. Because I think this might be a very heavy defense series on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to try to smother the star player with the ball that tries to shoot a 3-pointer. I think both teams may have to find themselves getting to the foul line. And whoever makes their free throws, they're going to basically put their team on top. Because this is going to be a series where, unless both teams are lights out from the 3-point line, it's probably going to be a heavy defensive series where they're just going to have to muscle their way in trying to, you know, match every drive, because it's the finals, man. Like, top of the top is right here at this dance. And there's no, you know, let me get another shot. This is do or die. And I think you're going to probably see a lot of, because if you look at both teams, they're very aggressive. There's many times the referees had to hold each side back in their previous series. And especially with Draymond in the mix, I think we can expect to see some tax for sure. And we'll just see who has that composure to not let the other side get inside their head to where they don't, you know, do their part and get the free throws, time management, and just kind of knowing where you are, self-awareness.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting too is the more I'm looking at these teams' rosters, if one major player on one of these teams goes down, the other team is winning the series. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about. Like, if even a guy like Looney, can you imagine how devastating that injury would be to the Warriors if Looney went down. Because who's left? Like Draymond and Kuminga? Like that's the size in the paint. Like those guys aren't going to be able to defend Horford or, like you maybe even Grant Williams or, against Rob Williams. Like the Warriors would not have any size in the paint if a Looney injury happened. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, if a guy like Grant Williams goes down for the Celtics, I mean, that is a heavy loss because their lineup is built off of defense. You got Tatum playing good defense, Jaylen Brown playing good defense, Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to end up pounding Steph Curry during this series, which is also why I'm kind of nervous about Steph. I don't think he's going to have a jolly old time shooting the ball in this series. I think don't worry, he'll have his streaks, but I don't think we're going to see 40-point Steph Curry. Or even 35-point Steph Curry in this series. I think the Celtics game plan is revolved around somewhat slowing him down. And if you can slow down Steph Curry, that puts pressure on the other guys. Poole, Clay, Wiggins. Those are the other three options because no one else on the team is going to put up like 15-plus points. It's got to be those three guys. So if you somewhat slow down Curry, that puts pressure on those three guys. Poole hasn't been the most consistent guy. Clay can be streaky. And Wiggins, you got to give props to Wiggins too. He has stepped up, and the Warriors trading for him was really awesome because they traded for him at his peak essentially, and he has gotten better as a player on both sides of the ball. But I don't know if Wiggins can drop 20 points a night. So Steph is like you mentioned, the pivotal piece of this Warriors offense.
Yeah, because Clay, that guy is not. He's not the 100% old Clay. He's about 98% old Clay because that other 2%, man, one bad bump, it might be, show is over. You know what I'm saying? So like he has to do his thing, but he has to also be slightly careful. Because these are some big dudes, okay? These are some big dudes. And we would hate to see, Clay get in a situation where it can get unhealthy for him. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm sure he's going to have in the back of his mind, I'm going to play, I'm going to do my thing. But these are some big dudes, man. These ain't no skinny shorties, all right? These are some big athletes. And I have to be conscious if I think I'm going to drive in the paint. So if I'm Clay.
You have big L's in the paint waiting for you.
If I'm Clay, I'm staying in the deep two or behind the arc, period. I'm not going to allow him to drive in the paint because I'm closing my eyes and holding my breath every time he tries to drive because that's a Jordan Poole responsibility. You're healthy, you're young, you get banged up this series. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe Clay will just surprise everybody and Euro his step all the way through the series. But he has to keep that in mind.
Hey, didn't he have a dunk in the last series? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but not the Celtics, man. I can see on a fast break. But no, it's just no way.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Unless he bench pressed 350 pounds, here until the first game, I just don't see him smashing any kind of dunks, maybe a reverse layup here and there. But I feel the Boston Celtics are going to rattle the world on the first game with defense. But it is how the Warriors are able to respond. Because if the Warriors are able to respond and adapt to their defense that they have not seen all year, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But hopefully Clay gets hot because I think if he gets hot, he's going to be so confident that this could be a special moment in Clay's career. Because imagine if Steph goes home after the first game and he can go to sleep because he knows he has another weapon, right? Yeah. That can help take some of the load off of him and just use that energy into getting more points on the board. Because on the Boston, like I said, if Jaylen Brown gets hot on the offense and Tatum gets hot, guess what? There's still some other players on the team that can get a little hot. You still got Peyton that can score points. You still got Marcus Smart that can score points.
We didn't even talk about Derek, man.
Yeah. I was just going to get there. And you also have Derek that can score points. So here's the problem with the Warriors. Your lead better be in double digits because there's too many weapons on Boston's side that can cut the lead and tie it within 3 possessions easily.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they have the size over the Warriors too.
Yeah, block those balls come in the paint and get some easy, fast breaks. Yeah. So that's the thing. The first game, I think, is going to be hopefully close. I'm hoping it's going to be close. But it's going to be very telling what the other team's going to have to do for the rest of the series and if they can actually do it.
Quick question. If the Celtics stun the Warriors in game 1, are they winning the series?
I can't say that with confidence. I would say it will still go to 7 games. But I think the players on the team, Warriors team, they have too much energy to just lay down and say, I give up. Y'all just get the championship ring, even though it looks nice, you know. I just don't see them waving the white flag after 1 game. But I will say this. If any team loses 3 in a row, it's a wrap.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, for sure.
And it'll be unfortunate. But I think this is probably going to be, out of all the series so far, this is going to be the most exciting because I think both sides know what's at stake. Like, no one's like wishy-washy, like, okay, I'll just do my part. No, everyone's probably like, no, I'm going to do 200% because they know what is at stake, right? At the very end of the race, getting that chip is the most priceless moment in your, NBA career, for that season. So when both sides have the opportunity, this is hopefully going to be the closest games that we have seen, maybe even some buzzer beaters. That'll be nice, but we'll just see. I can even see overtime.
I was about to say that.
Because I feel like, all right, here's the thing. Let me just give you a hypothetical scenario. Let's just say Boston is up by 10 in the 4th quarter. If there's 4 minutes left, I guarantee you Clay or Steph is going to be shooting the ball from the half court and making it because they're going to be that much determined and crazy, right, to put it all on the line for their fellow teammates. Same argument with Boston Celtics. If they're down by 10 in the 4th quarter in 4 minutes, I guarantee you Jason is going to do everything in his absolute power to dunk on you and do whatever it takes to get in the foul line, period. So I think both sides are going to have wake-up calls, but I think they're going to be so in tune to what's at stake that they're going to literally make adjustments in the next timeout. And they're going to cuss each other out and say, hey, we're trying to get a ring. What about you? And then, boom, it's just going to be neck and neck. That's what I see. I think this is probably the closest points, like people losing by 4, losing by 2 type games.
Yeah, like every game is just going to be like a very close deficit like that.
Because they both know what's at stake right now. I don't see any player that's probably going to be sleeping. Like, I don't know if we can do this. No, they're going to be like, man, I don't care. You got to trip somebody and get a technical. Like, we're going to do something.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping as well. So my prediction, I think the Celtics are going to win it in 7. But I just don't like both teams are very good. The Warriors have so many weapons, but I'm just concerned that they're going to end up being their own worst enemy because they've turned the ball over at times and they cannot just carelessly throw the ball away or like you mentioned before, Draymond has to control his emotions. He can't get ejected. He can't get all these flagrants. He's got to watch the fouls. There's just a lot of factors the Warriors have to deal with that their own, like that they cause their own problems sometimes. And They're gonna like Coach Kerr he's got a job ahead of him. Both coaches do. Ime Udoka, Steve Kerr, both of them great coaches. But Steve Kerr, I think he's got a bigger job on his hands because Boston has so many. You talked about weapons, and they've got guys coming off the bench, but that's we're looking at it from offense. They've got great defensive weapons too. Like Smart is going to be hounding Steph. Jaylen Brown's a very good defender. Grant Williams is pivotal against Giannis in that Bucks series. Derek White can play good defense. He's shown he's playing premier defense actually, even off the ball. They've just got so many weapons on the defensive end, and the Warriors are just one of those teams that have all this talent. But if they start getting into a funk, or if two of their players are just like chugging shots and they're not making anything, and they try to force like really weird looking threes and they're just bricking them. Unfortunately, we've seen the Warriors do this like over little periods of time, and those eventually cost them the game. They're the hottest third quarter team in the league. But at the same time, if they go dry for a little bit and the Celtics just get them out of a groove, can get them out of like a streak of shots from the three or easy shots, man, the Warriors can really struggle in this series. That doesn't mean that the end result won't be close. It's those kinds of dry spells that can mean a W or an L.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to come down to us. It's going to be like upsetters every night. One player just pushes, just a hair further than the next player. And that's going to make a difference. Another player on the Boston Celtics that can be, a sleeper as far as help, a helper that just gets you over the finish line, like 1 centimeter, is Robert Williams. Robert can get you rebounds, and he may get to the foul line, but he's another player that can be that unexpected help at the right time in the right place. And that's something the Warriors just have to keep in mind. I mean, really, I will do everything in my power to make sure Tatum doesn't feel comfortable. Because if they do that, they have a fighting chance to get some rebounds and fast breaks. But if they let Tatum just basically dominate and just be comfortable in scoring, that's what's going to be kind of scary for the Warriors in the series.
Yeah, for sure. It all comes down to the stars on these teams. Like at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, the other guys, the supporting cast, are very important. And especially for a team like both these teams, it's going to be important. But I think especially for a team like the Celtics, where they're such a system-oriented team, like if you watch them play, all these guys know their roles. They trust each other with the ball. They know when to pass the ball. And when the Warriors are on fire and when they are in their prime as far as passing the ball around, man, they are nearly unstoppable. They know how to pass that ball. They know who to get it to at the right time. And that's the season, veteranship out of those players like Steph and Clay. And now they're trusting Poole with taking clutch threes too. So it's going to be really interesting. I know this is kind of a common criticism with Draymond, but I still say this. I wish Draymond would practice more on his threes. Just the difference he would make if he became more of a consistent 3-point shooter, just because teams now they can't get comfortable with just letting him shoot a three because there's a 50% chance that it goes in. Probably they're like, oh, it's a toss up. Let him shoot the three. It's like when teams let Giannis shoot threes. That's my only thing with Draymond. He is the heart of that Warriors team. He's the fire of that team. But I just wish I challenge him to improve his 3-point shooting and get better at it so he can feel comfortable doing it. And so his teammates can feel comfortable with him shooting that three, because this has been a problem with him for years. He just doesn't seem to improve on his 3-point shooting. And unfortunately, I feel like his mindset is he doesn't feel like he has to because he's gotten away with the skills that he has right now. But honestly, that's my challenge to him. And I hope he takes on that challenge, especially going into next season, because his teammates could really use that help. Having another weapon along the 3-point line who battles it out in the trenches as a forward for their team. And it would help them out of like bad situations, and it wouldn't be a joke now. And teams wouldn't treat him as a liability at the 3-point line.
Well, what he should practice in this series is every first quarter, within the first 5 minutes, just shoot a 3-pointer. That way you can say, I'm going to be hot today. I'm going to be cold as heck today, because imagine if he took a 3 every game in the first quarter, in the first 5 minutes, just to see where he's at. Yeah. And it's like, if you brick it, don't shoot no more 3s in the game because you're going to cost us the game. But, if you hit it in the first quarter, in the first 5 minutes, then when you're open, keep shooting it. Right. Because if he gets in rhythm, oh my God, you know how his confidence is. He's going to be talking mess after he shoots it.
Oh, the whole bench will be like on their feet, man.
So
I would.
I think that's an actually interesting strategy that maybe someone can hurry up and send this episode to Draymond Green and say, yeah, man, every game, first 5 minutes, shoot a 3 and see how you feel.
Yeah, if the team leaves him open, do it. He shouldn't try to force it because he can't make those forced 3s to save his life.
Don't shoot for half court. Hug up to the line.
Like if the defense, like if Boston's just letting him shoot a 3, why not? Like just give it a shot. If it bricks, okay, that's not your night. If it goes in, well, maybe you might be onto something. Maybe the next time they leave you open, you give it another shot, it might go in.
Because that, or it just causes another player to get wide open. Right. And he becomes a playmaker. So, yeah, I think that would be interesting. I think that actually would be a nice wild card if Draymond acted like he's going direct plays and then he either A, becomes open because no one wants to guard him, then he can't shoot, and then all of a sudden he gets hot. That would be very funny and interesting.
It's interesting how, because we're talking about how teams play against Draymond. When he gets the ball at the 3-point line, sometimes he shoots it and sometimes he just gives it up. Like he just passes it. And that's what teams also want to see him do too. It's like the guy doesn't feel confident that he can shoot the 3. Well, hey, Shemaiah, so let's say you're in the NBA, you're surrounded by shooters and you have, like you're wide open for a 3. Wouldn't you feel bad that the defense is just letting you have your candy, knowing that you're going to drop your candy on the pavement?
I mean,
like, wouldn't that inspire you to improve your 3-point shooting?
If anything, it helps me disguise my next move, because now you put a team in an awkward position where they can't really call a defensive play because you're like the audible. Draymond will be the audible. It's like, oh, is he going to shoot? Oh, shoot, he's hot today. Dang, we're getting killed. And then now it messes up with their mind because they're like, dang, we don't know what's going to happen. Either is he going to shoot it all day or he's going to set someone else up and they're going to shoot it. So it'll just be like a wild card. And it'll be fun to watch because it is the playoffs and crazy things do happen. I see if he did that, it'll set up easy plays in the paint. Because either A, he'd be wide open, he can just drive and get to the foul line, or he drive and kick it back out to someone on the beyond the arc. So I think between Draymond and Jordan, they got to be moving the ball. Because the more you put it in a obvious player's hands, I just feel like it makes the other team's job easy. Because now they know you're not going to let someone else shoot the ball when it's 4 seconds on the clock. So I think having the ball in Draymond and Poole's hands.
And Wiggins.
Yeah. It opens up the door for anybody else to score. But it also gives them the confidence to score themselves.
Right. But I guess I get that. But I guess my question was like, wouldn't what I'm saying is like a team not, because teams strategically let Draymond shoot 3s, but wouldn't, like, if you're Draymond and you see a team like disrespecting you and not taking you seriously because they think you can't shoot a 3 to save your life, wouldn't that inspire you to get better as a 3-point shooter because you add more value to your team? Because the defenses are preparing, like, okay, so when they play against Draymond, defenses are preparing for him to pass the ball, to another player. That's that. Or the other option is they just let him shoot a three, knowing that he's more than likely not going to make it. So wouldn't you think Draymond would have been inspired over these past couple of years to, I don't know, get in the gym and practice that 3-point shot to save his life, to help his guys out?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was really going to say. My answer was basically, yeah. Like I said, like, I could see him doing that. I could see him saying, you know what? I'm going to shock the whole world. Y'all think I can't shoot? I'm going to shoot. I'm going to make you even more mad. But the reason why I said what I said earlier is because that puts him in a position to be unique. Because now you don't know what the heck you're going to coach, except for be ready. Because, you know, I might see my shadow. I might not see my shadow. I might shoot the ball. I might not shoot the ball. But you won't know because he's not in my head. You see what I'm saying? So he can do one pump fake, boom, jump in the person, get an easy foul. That's another strategy that he can do. But, yeah, I would say him, yes, of course. That would inspire him to be that unexpected threat.
Because, like, think about it, because it ties into what you were just saying earlier about him having the ability to shoot the three. Or he could just pass it on, be a playmaker, or just drive to the paint. The ability for him to shoot a consistent three would open all of those avenues up for him. Because right now, teams don't believe he can make threes consistently whatsoever. So they're leaving him open at the 3-point line. So they're assuming he's going to either take an awful shot or just take a three and miss it because he can't hit them consistently, or he's going to pass the ball to Steph or Clay or Poole or someone else, which the defense will be ready for those guys to receive the ball from Draymond.
And actually, it helps someone like Steph to warm up and not have so much pressure on him to answer Jason's crazy streak. You know what I'm saying? So if Draymond is helping answering points from the other side, it takes less stress from Steph to try to hurry up and get some threes just to get them back in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, the biggest point, I think the most important piece on the Warriors is Steph Curry. And of course, like the most important piece on the Celtics is Tatum. But the thing is, I think the Celtics can afford for Tatum to have like an 18-point game and still win the game. Whereas the Warriors, I don't feel like if Steph had an 18-point game, they can win that game.
Well, they better hope and pray that Clay is hitting threes, because that's the thing. It's a domino effect. If Steph has any slow games, it's either going to make Clay shine or become a dud. It's just that clear. And that's why someone like a Draymond will have to be that wild card when it comes to scoring, putting points on the board. Because the last thing you want is for Steph to be ice cold, Draymond to be frustrated, right? Because that just doesn't mix well. Because when he gets on back defense, he's probably going to get attacked pretty soon. He's going to get someone's face, or he's just going to get in foul trouble. You know what I'm saying? So it's just not a good mix. It's a domino effect if Steph has a slow offensive game. And on top of no one else having the ability to answer. You see what I'm saying? Because if Steph is going slow in the first two halves, which is okay only if someone else is putting points on the board. But if no one's putting points on the board and Steph's not putting points on the board, we might see someone like Jaylen Brown just go crazy and get 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, and that's kind of the worry is I feel like there's more pressure on the Warriors, other guys outside of Curry, to step up than there is on the Celtics, other guys to step up around Tatum.
Yeah, because we haven't barely talked about Derek White only because he doesn't have that much pressure to step up like, hey, Derek, we need you to get 20 points every game. Like, he doesn't have that pressure. He has the luxury of having other scorers on the team. Warriors, they have a little bit different story because if Curry just doesn't have the rhythm, but he has nice shots or looks, it's just not falling. Boston's going to eat their lunch when it comes to getting their points because
they're going to out-rebound them.
Yeah. Well, they got long arms. I mean, it's going to be like T-Rex playing, Gumby. It's not going to be fair. And it's like the more I think about this, the more it's going to be scary on the first game to watch. But it'll be fun to watch if everyone's confident, because I think confidence go a long way. And as long as every player knows how important it is to be aggressive on every play, even that means getting someone's head and have them mess up because they're frustrated and they end up doing an offensive foul or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what is going to really make a difference in every game, is who can get inside whose head and disrupt their thought process and cause them to make a mistake, throw a bad pass, step out of bounds. Because there's going to be those small little details that allows the other team have a mega big, huge chance to take advantage of the time and also how they score. Because we might see one of the teams just hustle their way to the foul line. Mm-hmm. It could be that type of series, especially when there's a hothead, cough, Draymond. Tatum be like, let me just get the foul line and get him mad.
Right.
Let me help him get 4 fouls in the third quarter.
Hey, he could too. Boston's defense is going to frustrate Golden State. I can already tell you that. So it's frustrated.
It's going to boil down to who can keep cool heads and answer the other team's score. Because if no one can answer, that's going to be the team that's going to lose, period. But if every player contributes to, hey, we just got to out-hustle this, other team, period.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about plays. It's also just about heart and who has the, to jump on the loose ball, do whatever is necessary to capitalize on small moments, because those small moments will lead you to the big moments that actually gets that W.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of these teams are going to be driven to play their guts out. This is going to be a great series, and I think it's going to go 7. But I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics. I think they have the best system in the NBA right now. They're a prime example. Last season, it was the Suns, and I think the Bucks. That really showcased how important having the right pieces in the right system works to perfection. And I think the Celtics have that system right now. The Warriors have so much talent on that team, but just the Celtics have an advantage in size and in system. And I think the Warriors, it's going to be a good series. The games are all going to be close, but the Warriors can sometimes be their own worst enemy. And we need to see they need to set the tone. Game 1, the Warriors need to set that tone and show the world which Warriors they're going to be. The ones that shoot lights out, that play defense, that don't turn the ball over, and that don't go dry after a little while. Or, are they going to be the former world champs that they once were? That's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, in game 1, because here's the thing with this game 1, you're the Warriors. You're playing in front of your home fans, opening the series there. You have to show up. The rest of the media is expecting you to win this game. If Boston comes in there and stuns y'all, that's going to put a mental threshold on you. And they can play it off like, oh, it's just game 1, but no. That puts pressure on those Warriors players to step up for game 2. I don't think they can afford to lose that game 1. They cannot lose game 1, because that is the tone setter. That is the one that's going to set up their momentum. That's going to set the tone for the entire series and how they're going to go along. It's going to be 7 games. Every game is different. It's a 1 game at a time situation, but they need to start hot and they need to start with a W.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say what I said earlier in the show. There are 2 J's on Boston that the Warriors have to keep their focus on, and that is Jalen and Jason. Because if the Warriors can smother them like Thanksgiving turkey, oh yeah, Warriors have a fighting chance to have a comfortable game to where they can win by 4, win by 5, win by 8, win by 2. Because if they cannot smother Jason or Jalen, it's going to be hot like 2 turkeys about to get dropped, just in time for dinner. Because those 2 players on the Boston teams are my leaders if I'm in that camp. Because without them being spectacular, if they are lukewarm, it gives the other team the momentum to capitalize on them being lukewarm. So that's my thing. Warriors will win in Game 7 if they can control how hot Jason and Jalen can get.
Yeah, because it's interesting because even if Tatum, like what I was mentioning earlier, I feel like even if Tatum has like an 18 or a 20-point game, Jalen can still kind of counter that and provide a 30-point game to help keep those Celtics in the game for a Game 7. So, yeah, it's going to be a tight series. It's going to be really good. It's going to be gritty. And I can't wait, man. It's going to be awesome. But I think we about covered this matchup so far. It hasn't even started yet, but we will continue to talk about it once it does. Thank you all for joining us here on the Baller Boys podcast, where we talk sports, and more sports. We are covering the hot topic that is the NBA. If you missed, we talked a little bit about Derek White in this episode. We have an entire episode dedicated to Derek White. Go check that out if you can, because we release 2 episodes a week, so you don't want to miss that. It's very good stuff. But thank you all for joining us on this one. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter. Shemaiah, let them know how they can reach out to you.
Shemaiah on the BT, and y'all get ready for Thursday, because I'm telling you, you don't want some popcorn. I'm going to buy popcorn and just pop 4 bags. That's how excited I am. Yeah, y'all should be excited. This is going to be a monster series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic series. Completely agree. And you can follow me on Twitter as well at MarkTheMC, MarkTH, 3 3s, no E's, capital M, capital C. We post some fun stuff. We'll be talking about the games in the series in general. So feel free to tweet at us or retweet anything. We got some fun stuff there. But join us every week as we talk about this stuff. 2 episodes a week. So don't forget it. If you watched one, that means you missed the other one. Go check them all out. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, the moon, the stars, the sky, the ground, everywhere. And in case you don't like any of those options, we're also on YouTube. So hit us up. Check out Baller Boys podcast. And y'all have a nice evening. Have a nice morning. Whenever you're listening, we do this after we finish up with work. We just like to talk about sports, and this is our way of venting. We're just 2 sportsters that want to talk sports. So thank you all for taking your time and listening to us just banter and just talk about what we love to talk about. So y'all, peace out. Tell your mom, tell your grandma. Adios.